And welcome again to Center for Spiritual Living, Port Angeles. I'm Reverend Burson-Johnson. It is my joy and pleasure to be here on this lovely rainy night. My talk title tonight is called I Don't Mind. And it comes from something that happened this week. My family had some friends over, some good buddies of my mom and my stepdad. And one of them told a story about seeing a spiritual teacher named Krishnamurti. Krishnamurti has been well known all over the world for being a spiritual teacher who says we don't need spiritual teachers, who says that people shouldn't listen to spiritual talks while he's giving spiritual talks, which I love the irony of all of that. So I looked up this talk because she was actually present, this woman who was telling the story, and I looked it up. I was just curious about the quote, and this was a person who said that it was in 1977. This particular thing I'm going to talk about tonight. He said, partway through Krishnamurti's talk, through this particular talk, Krishnamurti suddenly paused and leaned forward and said almost conspiratorially, "Do you want to know what my secret is?" The whole room held their breath. He rarely spoke in such personal terms, and the audience was electrified. Almost as though we were one body, we sat up. I could see people all around me lean forward, their ears straining and their mouths slowly opening in hushed anticipation. And then Krishnamurti, in a soft, almost shy voice, said, "You see, I don't mind what happens." Everyone was stunned. He got up and left the room. I don't mind what happens. That's hard, because sometimes I mind a lot. I mind a whole lot what happens. I want it my way. I want it to be the way I think it should come out. I want everything to be perfect in my world all the time. And life just isn't like that. Life has all kinds of unexpected gifts and pleasures. Earlier tonight when I was setting up this room, it was raining fairly steadily, and we have a couple of leaks because we've got a plan to redo the roof, but it was raining, so we decided not to redo the roof. And I saw just a couple of spots, and I wanted to catch them so they didn't run anywhere. So I put paper cups that we happen to have in the room underneath the spots. And I heard dunk, dunk, tink, bonk, bonk, tink. All these different sounds from these different cups, and it made music. So I didn't mind that there were leaks in the roof, because there was music as a result. When I don't mind what's happening, I can step into something bigger. I don't mind doesn't mean I don't care. One of the things that I read about in this idea of this concept of I don't mind is that acceptance of what is not resignation. It is a way to stop resisting reality, to stop using positive thinking to try and pretend things are different. We've got a lot of things going on in this world. We've got Syria and Black Lives Matter and global warming and political corruption. There's a lot of bad things. If we're going to label things, those would be bad things that are happening in the world. Not that Black Lives Matter is a bad thing. The fact that we have to have Black Lives Matter is a bad thing, because we are unable to see each other as the one that we truly are. So acceptance, I don't mind that that's going on, is acceptance of what is. What is that we have inequality in this world. What is that there's wars going on and governments trying to crush their people and political corruption all over, not just in our country or other countries, but everywhere. That's what is. Acceptance of what is shines light into the darkness. A lot of what seems to be more problems is not, in fact, more problems. It's more light being shown on what's going on in the world. That's my interpretation of it. People say, oh, things are getting worse. No, things are being brought up to be examined and looked at in the light of consciousness, in the light of something else. The person that I read this article who wrote about Krishnamurti said, acceptance, I don't mind, is acceptance. Acceptance is a precondition for change, not an obstacle to it. I really like that. Until I can look in the face of what is, I can't possibly change it. I can't possibly choose something else. So, it doesn't mean I don't care. It means that I'm really willing to accept what is happening. I don't mind what is happening, so that I can look at it and make a choice. I looked at this phrase, I don't mind, a couple of different ways, because that's how I do things. I come at them from several different points of view to try to pull them apart and choose what I want, choose what works for me, choose what feels better in my body. So I looked at it, I don't mind, this first little part that I talked about. And the second way I said it is, I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't blindly mind. I don't blindly obey. I don't believe just because someone told me and they're wiser than I am or older than I am or have more education than I am. I don't just blindly mind them. I listen and I take it in and I see if it feels like truth for me. Krishnamurti also said, truth is a pathless land. A pathless land. We always talk in this philosophy of, you're on the path, you can never be off the path. Well, he's saying it's a pathless land. If you're following somebody else's path, you'll never find it being truth. That's kind of controversial. We have centers and spiritual teachers that are laying a path, giving tools. I'm doing that every week in all the different things I do. And each person's path is still unique. The way that you use the tools or you use the tools, the way you discover truth has got to be your own particular path, your own particular way. It might look familiar to someone else's or similar to someone else's, but it never will be exactly like someone else. When I was in ministerial school, I read about something called the numinous experience. The numinous experience is that mysterious tremendum, that thing that makes us tremble in awe when we are filled with the divine. Sometimes nature will do that. Sometimes just regular beauty will do that. Sometimes we'll have what we say is a deep spiritual experience, this numinous experience. And in that class, what I learned and what I really loved was that my numinous experience can never be your numinous experience. The challenge is in our world, somebody has a numinous experience. Let's say I have a numinous experience of the crystal bowl. And I bong the crystal bowl and my whole being awakens to the magnificence of the oneness. And then I think the crystal bowl is it. This is the way to the divine. Let us create a religion around the crystal bowl. Let us all hail and worship the crystal bowl. But somebody else doesn't get it from the crystal bowl. Maybe they get it from this basket. I had a numinous experience with the basket. The basket is holy. Let us all worship the basket. But we're pointing outside of ourselves. We're pointing to the thing, the symbol of the numinous experience, and not going inside to the feeling of that experience that is uniquely ours. So I don't mind. I don't mind. Krishnamurti said, tradition becomes our security, and when the mind is secure, it is in decay. Tradition becomes our security, and when the mind is secure, it is in decay. We seek, as humans, a lot of security, safety. We feel we need these things in order to be okay. I need things to be a certain way in order to be okay. What happens when they're not that way? Can we still find peace? Can we still feel safe? The other way I looked at this is I don't mind. If something happens in my life, if I mind it, my mind is full of the past and the future, duality, decisions, and facts. That's what my mind is full of. It's full of data and my history and the way it's always been, the way I'm afraid it might be. If I don't mind, but instead I heart or I soul, if I can dive deep into myself, if we can dive deep into our heart and our soul, we find a deeper truth, capital T truth. Something that's beyond data and facts, something that's beyond our preconceived ideas of how it might look. That's when, we don't say miracles anymore, that's when normicals happen. Normal, amazing things. One of my friends, compatriots on Facebook, posted this week, what are amazing things that happened to you this week? And people replied things like, I read my child a book at bedtime and they threw their arms around me. Now, that seems like just an average, ordinary day for a lot of people, but that's an amazing thing. I posted, I swept out our baby barn and cleaned up boxes so that we have a space for storage. And part of the amazing thing is that we have a baby barn. We have 2 barns. That's amazing. Now, sweeping doesn't seem like a big miracle or a big deal. But I got to sweep out a barn. I got to put my hands all over this building that is serving us. That's an amazing thing. I got to hear the rain on the roof today. It's amazing. Krishnamurti says one more thing. Die to everything of yesterday so that your mind is always fresh, always young, innocent, full of vigor and passion. Die to everything of yesterday. That's a tall order. Some of us have a lot of yesterdays. So that your mind is always fresh, always young, innocent, full of vigor and passion. When we accept what is and what we are, then there's no resistance for the flow of something new to show up. There's no push when we just accept what is and how we are. It doesn't mean we're not going to change. It doesn't mean there will be no shift. It just means we're looking at it and bringing it to light with acceptance instead of rejection, instead of some sort of push against. So I'm going to invite you into a little process, a brief process. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Just let it go. There's nothing you have to do, no way that you have to be or sit. Just imagine becoming the way you used to be as a very young child. Before you understood the meaning of any word. Very, very young. Before opinions took over your mind. Imagine this place, the way you used to be as a very, very young child. Do the best you can. cast your mind back before opinions and concepts and words. This is the real you. It's always been with you. It has never left. The real you is loving, joyful, and free. The real you is just like a flower, just like the wind, just like the ocean, just like the sun. All of these things accept what is. They accept what they are given and what they give. They accept exactly what they are. And there is no resistance. I invite us into that place of no resistance. I invite you to repeat after me. Whatever happens, I don't mind.
I don't mind.
Whatever is happening,
Whatever is happening,
I don't mind.
I don't mind.
Whatever is happening,
Whatever is happening,
I don't mind.
I don't mind.
Take a breath. Come back into the room. Thank you. If you enjoyed this talk, if you're watching it out in the world, on Facebook or somewhere else, and you enjoy what you've been hearing, and you wish to support this vision, Center for Spiritual Living Port Angeles, I invite you to go to our website, www.cslpa.org. There's a Donate Now button if you feel so moved. We are grateful for all the gifts that we receive because we are a center that not only receives, but gives back into the world. Thank you.